but I visualize it before I even place it. Like 100%, I have the edit in my head before I even start editing it.
All right, everyone, welcome to another episode of Creative Haven. You're in for a treat, and it's my pleasure to introduce you to Claire Fischer from Sanze Media. And it's really awesome because we've met through a online platform for filmmakers to connect called Industry Jump. Shout out to JJ. And Claire and I actually worked on a project recently, and we just really vibe and really agree on a lot of things when it comes to video and filmmaking and business. And so, Claire, I would love for you to just tell the audience and the listener your background and in filmmaking. How did you get into filmmaking? And tell us more about life right now with your own company.
Yeah, I'd love to. So my background and how I got into filmmaking. Honestly, I went to film school. I started out wanting to be a neuroscientist, honestly, but
Whoa.
going, I ended up going the creative side. Because I just saw I wanted to do something hands-on and that offered like filmmaking and camera, but that was meaningful. Like for me, I think we talked before, like I'm very heart-centered. Like when I live my life, I go from a place of I need to find meaning and fulfillment. And for me, that was like through storytelling. So I always would tell my own stories. I would always like find meaning in my own life, right? And I wanted to find a way, how can I translate that into like a career, into something I could do? And I found that storytelling, hey, I can tell other people's stories. Like I can help connect to another person's purpose and fulfillment and tell their story. And there's just so many like infinite avenues of what I can do with that, like as far as the creativity, as far as like the shots. So there's all these things that I could apply and learn and grow with, as being hands-on, being creative, and then like tapping into what fulfills me most, which is like telling people stories and helping them find purpose. And so filmmaking really offered me the means to do everything that I want to do and explore and learn and grow in life, basically. And so it took me to film school, which then took me to a production company, which was a great learning experience. But just this year, actually, I decided that, I need to branch out. I need to do more clients. I need to grow more. And to really push myself and learn and grow more, I have to do my own company. I have to do my own thing, right? And then I can expand and do more clients. So that's what brought me here today, speaking with you, and how I found you is beginning to build my own company.
Yeah, that's so cool to hear your story about wanting to become a neuroscientist at first, and then all of a sudden
Yeah.
you dived into the crazy waters of creativity that's deep with so many emotions and vulnerability and ups and downs, but you're keeping afloat with your own company because it's so awesome to hear other creatives and filmmakers take that chance to actually work for themselves. And usually that's how it is when you are a filmmaker or a content creator or a videographer. You find ways to do film projects, and then from there you see that you're getting paid as a 1099. You don't know how to get paid. You had to figure out how to create an LLC or an entity, and then you start getting bigger projects, so you have to scale. And so it's a whole process. And so for you, when you started your company, what were some of the challenges that you faced when you were starting a company, being a creative at first and then a businesswoman?
Oh my gosh, like as in heart being a creative and having to bring the business side is the challenge in itself, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
because there's the whole, even just recently, like there's the taxes, there's the structure, there's the having to make money, right? And for me, the biggest challenge is I live from my heart and I want to be creative and I want to do like really meaningful work. But then there's like this reality of, okay, you need to make money, you need to be efficient, you need to, right, make structures. So I'm learning to really balance my creative side with the business side so that my creative side can be more sustainable. So I would say it would be the paperwork and it would be the logistics. And honestly, it's been a little, can get overwhelming. And so what I've learned is I'm trying to leverage other people's help a little bit more. Even in the beginning, if you can't even hire people, like I would go to my family, you know, I would go to my friends, I would go to everyone that I knew that was smart and intelligent and that I could like pick their brains. And I realized, like, Claire, you don't actually have to do this alone. You have this infinite like support around you if you tune into it, you know. And it could be people you know, it could be like through contacts. There's so much support out there. And it's not true that you have to do everything yourself. Like in the beginning, it's good to learn everything, but I relied so much on my friends and my family, and then just through people that I've networked that could help me learn and understand and even pick up some of the business side of things, you know?
Oh, wow. That's great that you actually had the courage to contact your family and friends and other people to find help and look for help. Because sometimes people are scared or they're embarrassed because, being a creative or a filmmaker or videographer, it's hard to relate to other people who have full-time work or a career in another industry. And so what was kind of the reaction from your friends and fam and people in general when you asked them, how can you help me with my video production business? Like what was like the general reaction about you being a filmmaker as your career and starting a business as a video creator?
Well, most people are really inspired, because when I speak from my heart and you can inspire that vision in people and they resonate with that, most people are like thrilled to help or share, right? And so that's what I've learned, is because most people, they'll be like, "What? Why don't you just like work a 9 to 5 and like get a salary?" Like I've had people ask me that question,
Right.
but like to really, the truth is that I couldn't do it because I operate best on my fullest potential with the space, and I can allow the creative process to happen. But back to your question of like, what was their reaction? Well, I found that my best way to get people's help would be to inspire, on the vision side of things or the heart side of things. Like I know I always have to come back to my intentions. Like, what are my develop relationships, help people grow and learn their potential, and creative collaboration. And I even it with like my friends, I found some business friends and I was like, hey, what you're learning, you want to apply it to me? You know? And they're like, oh yeah, I'd love to. Like, and it, so see how I can have help other people learn and grow with my process. And then more people were excited to be a part of it, you know? And then when you approach it that way, everyone would love to help. Like my family is thrilled. Okay, Claire, you're building, you're doing your thing. I'd love to help you in this way, versus it being like a chore, right? So it's like all how you approach it is what I've learned.
Awesome. I think that you probably are really good in the room when you're pitching, because having that visionary and storytelling vibe in the pitching room in any office or meeting room, call, meeting, whatever it is, it's really beneficial to lead with the heart and the vision. And at the same time, you're dealing with a lot of business people. So you also have to think about, how do I make this a professional meeting as well? And when you have been in that room, that meeting, doing that pitch and talking to these corporations that you're creating videos for, how do you justify to them that video is important for their business?
So good. I just recently had a conversation with an architectural company, and it was just we've had this video conversation before, Mitchell, where it's like video, every business needs video. And I can speak from the heart side of it, but even the business side matches into it too. And how I approach it is like, basically what I'm creating for you is something that is priceless, is something that will speak your true heart and your true mission of why you're doing business, so that everyone can understand and relate to you on that level authentically. It's like telling your genuine story, from your history and how you got to where you are and where you're going. And something like that, like that's what's going to bring you customers. Like that's what's going to build you clients, is when people know you and they hear your story and they hear your true authentic motivation. And for me to be able to create that for you and like have a genuine open conversation and capture why you're doing what you're doing, your overarching intentions, the same way that I got people to help me with my business. You know, you share your genuine, authentic intentions. I can do that for businesses. And so for me, and then to do it in a way that's engaging and beautiful, that's kind of the heart side of how I sell it. I just speak my heart and I'm like, hey, I'm totally authentic. This is working. Like, it's gonna bring you clients, and then sprinkle in like I'm, you know, because I talk to business people like Mitchel. I'm just like, well, also tell them that we can cut this into 10 videos and they can put it over social media. That's like the business side. So it's the balancing the two, right? But I found a lot of the connection first happens with the heart, and are we on the same page? And do we have the same vision? And do we have a similar intention? And when I can connect to my clients and they feel that, yes, she also is coming from an authentic place of wanting to tell my story, and she understands me, and she can tell it in a way that's going to just, really speak the truth of what's important to me, and so that clients know that, then I've already got them, right? Then the rest is just like, okay, so like now logistically, this is the business, it's going to cost this much and so much value. But it's true, right? Like a brand is their story. A brand is, and how do you communicate that? Like how it's like some ephemeral thing, but we can begin to put form to it with video and with storytelling and with just authentically having conversations with people. We can connect with them, and then we relate with them, and then we're like, hey, I want to buy from you. Right? That's the big picture. So it's like many multi-layered, and if I can communicate that, I found the best way to communicate that to a client is just like through my heart like this. And then I have some business people helping me with like some logistics to be like, okay, so here's their cost and stuff. But
nice.
Yeah, so this is my story, like balancing business with heart,
That's outstanding. I think the idea of really understanding their why, their mission,
Yeah.
their values, and showing that through video to really attract their ideal customer. It's so important for the brand and the company, because you want to be authentic to your audience. You attract the right people. And also, this day and age, it's really hard for companies to actually hide behind social media and closed doors. Customers want to see transparency. There's so much power in the customer and in the viewer. And when it just comes down to the consumer, they want to see transparency. They want to see the glass door and see what employees said. They want to see Yelp to see how they were served. They want to see Amazon to see how great the product is. And they want to see reviews on Trustpilot, whatever it is. The customer, consumer, the viewer has the power right now. And so being an authentic founder and brand and company is really important to attract your tribe, attract your customer, and at the same time, be authentic so you don't have to lie through your teeth when you're talking about why your product is so good and why people should buy it. And so for you, I would love to know what your process is, right? For working with a brand. I love the process of talking to the owner or the VP, and then you come out with that list of questions, right? So what is your process of creating those questions or coming up with a story? And then how do you put it all together with B-roll and footage, and how it all comes together with the edit?
It's so funny because I just was going through this process recently with my client, Mark, and I spend a significant amount of time in pre-production, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
I want to understand, like, what is the point of the video, first of all, right? So I just have this conversation with the client. What are you trying to get across? What I need to understand the big picture, and then kind of work down from there. And so I spend first in pre-production, just understanding what's the point, what's the story. And from there, I can begin to structure like interview questions to speak to who I'm going to be interviewing, which in this case was several CEOs. And but once I understood, okay, the point of this story, well, is to sell, his work, number one. But then number two, I would break it down. So what's the point of the story, right? And a lot of times, each client would be different. Like one story would have a different theme of, they're retiring and they're transitioning their business. And I would draw it always back to the core essence of, you know, what's going to sell Mark's services.
Mm-hmm.
So significant time in pre-production, understanding why, you know, crafting the questions. And then once I have that like all set, I would take those questions and prepare my shoot, you know, and go on the day of the shoot. And sometimes like when you're actually interviewing them, things will arise that were different, you know, of course,
Mm-hmm.
but it's okay because I've spent so much time preparing for it that I understand like, what is the point of this video, right? Like, what is the core story? And if I always return to what's the point, what's the point, what's the point, and that guides every one of my questions, you know, and I'm fully prepared so that by the time I have the footage in the edit, I already know like what the story is going to be, you know. So I would say pre-production is a huge part of the process, you know.
That's really cool.
Yeah, yeah. And then to take it all the way home, as far as
Mm-hmm.
the edit, oh my gosh. So that's the fun part. It's like once you have all the footage, you know, and I also spend a lot of time preparing my shots more intentionally too. I'll look at videos that I'm super inspired by, that I love, and I'm like, okay, I wanna get a shot like this. I want to get a shot like this, and I try to make every single one of my shots serve my story. You know, even like playing with like being more metaphorical. I'm always looking up to filmmakers and seeing how I can incorporate some of their work. But like some of the shots that I got, you know, I had a beautiful shot of a crane as like the CEO is talking about carrying a heavy load. Like just I'm trying to get more meaningful with everything. So that's kind of more the shooting side, I would say. But when I'm in the editing room and finishing up the video, um, I'm experimenting with different processes. It's so funny. And I was actually going to talk to you more about this, Mitchell. But when I'm editing, I've been playing with doing a transcription actually of an interview. And I found that for me personally, I can scan the words so much faster and get to the meaning and like put the story together like this versus me just watching the video.
Oh.
And sometimes I have to be careful because they may say things differently than it is on paper, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
at least it's a really fast process for me to just transcribe the words and get the story down in my head in like a matter of an hour before I even watch the footage. And that way I go into the footage already familiar with how I'm going to cut it and what the story is going to be, right? Based on the pre-production I did. So now that I have the story, I first cut the story. And then what I've been doing from there is, okay, just feeling where the shots go.
Yeah.
And this is another interesting question because you're telling me you have like a mathematical formula for how you edit and you put the shots with the story.
Yeah.
And I'd love to hear more about that because I don't have that yet.
Yeah.
How I do it is just I literally I visualize it. Like I look at the transcription. I put the edit once I finish the story. I put it on words and I go through the words and I just visualize what would look good. And so I'm basing it off of videos I've seen. I'm basing it off of mostly feeling, but mostly a sense of like big to small to big to small to mixture. But I visualize it before I even place it. Like 100%, I have the edit in my head before I even start editing it. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, I
That
find that more efficient because otherwise you're just like playing around with little pieces and you're like, oh, maybe this works. And you can get lost in so many weeds editing. You know, you can spend weeks and weeks on something, you know what I mean? But I found, okay, to be more efficient, I just visualize it I watch all the footage. And so I have everything in my head and I have the transcription on paper and then I just picture it and I write it down shot by shot where it goes. So the edit's done before it's even started. And I found
fascinating. Whoa. That's wow, you just blew my mind. I've never heard of anyone doing the I mean you transcribe. I've heard some people, but you basically have all the interview written out and you read through it like a script and then you put the puzzle pieces together. Whoa,
I'm a verbal person and a visual.
Yeah.
It's just words. I see the world through words.
Yeah. And look, I mean, the editing process, the creative process, the filmmaking process, it's so subjective to a lot of people, because the way that you are able to place your images together in a sequence, and how you capture those images, and how you relate those images to what the person is saying, it's all based on your past experiences and what you perceive what a image should be put on top of that word. And so it's so brilliant to have a whole transcript beforehand, because you don't have to always be in front of your computer in order for you to break down the script, the video. You can be, if you want to take a break, you can go out to the park, you can look at the script, you can start highlighting, you can then piece it together. And even though sometimes they would cut off a word here or there, or like someone doesn't really finish their sentence correctly, you can find ways around it. And that's incredible. I'm actually, I would want to consider that. I want to see your whole process, because when it comes to editing, for me, it's turned into a practice, a training process of what's the best method. And I've
Yeah.
heard from one editor where he actually creates the soundtrack before he cuts the interview. So in his mind, he's like, all right, I want to have a riser right here. Then I want to have my intro song right here. Then I want to do a drop right here. I'll put the logo right there. Then I'm going to go into this one song. The one song turns into a breakdown. It was incredible how he put it all together before he made the interview. And what he said is that it's because of that, you're able to create something that limits the amount of time you have to fit all the footage. So rather than your footage determining the time, it's actually you're determining the time before you cut the footage. And so it turns into, how can I fit this footage into this set amount of time with this music, rather than, all right, I've got 5 minutes that I cut down from 5 hours. How am I going to cut this down, and how am I going to make the music fit this 5 minutes? And so there's that method, and my method of cutting the clips in a mathematical way by multiples of 6. It helped me when I'm traveling and I'm filming travel videos or music videos or product videos, even recipe videos. I would take all my favorite clips, I'll put it in a timeline, select all, right click, make the duration all 1 minute and 12 seconds, or sorry, 1 second and 12 frames, or 2 seconds. And what happens is that everything is consistent, and everything is in the same size. So when you put it all together in your sequence, you don't have long clips and then really short clips. Everything is really consistent. And so when you put that back on your timeline, you can start shifting it by multiples of 6. Then you have this visual mixtape. So rather than just a set of random durations for each clip has an intention behind it. 6 frames, 12 frames, 18 frames, 1 second, 1 second and 6 frames, 1 second and 12. And then when you start cutting the music, you'll find that, okay, for house music, it's every 12 frames that it would show up on the downbeat. Or if it's slower music, you realize, oh, every 1 second it goes to the beat. And so it's really cool to have this conversation with you, and it's fulfilling to me to know that there are people out there who have a crazy editing mind that don't know exactly how they do it, but they just do it. You know, the artist's way of just doing it through feeling and through emotion and through your heart and intention. And so when you do this with a client and you experience the notes process, and you try to figure out how to keep your babies or having to kill them, how do you balance, of course, your beautiful creative vision and then the business trying to just sell a product?
That's so hard. I just went through this recently because the client gave me feedback, and I was like, well, so I went down that rabbit hole of, okay, I'm going to make all these changes that he said. And I spent like 4 days trying to fit his changes into my video, and by the end of the 4 days I realized it was bad. It wasn't even good. And so I'm learning, like, you can't always just take everything they say and just do it, because what if they don't know the story? What if they don't know what's right? Like, the client's feedback, you have to be careful. Not everyone understands storytelling. They didn't see the interview. They don't know what's going to flow well. You have to take it a little bit with a grain of salt and see how you can communicate back to them. Okay, thank you for your feedback. However, this doesn't serve the overall story because in a way that they'll understand. But they don't, they can't see the big picture like you can. They didn't edit the video. So, and I'm learning, in the future, I may not spend those 4 days going down that rabbit hole of trying to make it work when it's not going to work. So I'm trying to see how can I take notes from clients and like really consider them from the big picture of, okay, what's going to serve the best for the video. Like even the client doesn't necessarily know what's going to serve best. And you have to stand up for yourself and you have to communicate that to them, right? Like, hey, this isn't going to work. Trust me, I have experience in a way that's like, so that they understand, and it's nice and caring, of course. So you don't want to shut them down, and you want to also be open to feedback. Like, I'm not saying don't be open to feedback, but ultimately you want to stay true to what's going to serve the video. And so not to go down rabbit holes of just doing every single thing that they say you need to fix and then sacrifice the overall good best work,
Yeah, I remember last year it was me and my friend. We were working on these videos for a corporation, and the client didn't know what they wanted. We would give them their notes and then add our spin, and then they'll say they wanted blue, and we gave them blue, but they said no, I asked for green, as in like they didn't know what they wanted as the actual end product. And also they had so many different departments giving notes that some notes would come in a different time, some are clashing, some people don't even know what the creative process was. They just jumped in, didn't even know there was a video, but they're somehow their notes matter at this point. It's such a tough process when it comes to notes, and it's great what you say, that you have to be the professional and the expert in the situation to let them know, hey, you don't need to have your face and your logo on there for 18 seconds or something like that. It's like you don't go to a dentist and say, hey, you know what, dentist, I think you need a drill here because I feel like there is a cavity. So just trust me on this, okay? I'm not a dentist. Just drill here. So Claire, when you do get into these creative situations and you have to come up with a story, you have to shoot, you have to edit, how do you get into your creative flow?
Just generally.
Yeah, and how do you get out of a creative rut? Like, let's say because I know how it is. You're gonna have those days where you went 18 hours.
I've explored so much of this, Mitchell. You have no idea. Like in the beginning, I was like, oh, I need to edit in my car. Okay, maybe I should just go for a walk and edit on my phone. Okay, maybe I just need to do a little dance and then get back to my computer. Oh my gosh, maybe I need to edit in someone else's home. Maybe I need to edit like in an office. And I had all these ideas of what I needed to get in it was ridiculous. Yeah. And what I could find is like, no, Claire, you can do it actually alone in your home. And I'm doing much better that way. And just to get into my flow though, I gotta shut out the outside world. Like distraction, first of all, is number one. It's gotta go. But how I do it is music a lot of times, but I'll watch videos. I'll watch like behind the scenes videos of my favorite films and I'll feel inspired. I'll tap into like my bigger, most exciting things I want to do in life. I just kind of get my endorphins going and my excitement going and like that creative part of my brain flowing. And so sometimes I'll do it by just going down thought streams of imagining my like most exciting, like, oh, I'm going to make this movie, I'm going to build this company, and and that helps me kind of get into the creative flow. And also I'm a huge dancer, so I'll practice dance, and sometimes getting out of your thought, out of your mind, coming into your body, and just sometimes just taps me in, like especially when I'm stuck in a rut and you just try to find it and you try to do it, you just have to step away and do something else. Like that's what they say, and it's true, it works. Like when you're in a creative rut and you just keep banging your head against the wall, if you go outside and you let it go, I swear it'll just, oh my god, there it is. Like I can't tell you how like I don't know how the pieces together, I don't know, and then I just walk away and let it go and do something else, and then all of a sudden it's like there. So I'm starting to begin to edit like as I'm cooking. I'm editing as I'm walking, and if because I hold on to it too tight, it doesn't happen. So the biggest thing for creative flow is you got to have like a looseness and an openness, you know.
Mhm.
And so dancing and so doing other things has helped that when I'm stuck, right? And when you're onto something though, it's like the best thing in the world. Like just sitting in front of that computer and you're in the zone and you're doing it. And
Yeah.
to get there, you just have to experiment, you know? And so I found my own way is like I'll watch films, I'll watch movies, I'll go dancing, and then I'll just sometimes you just have to do it when you're not inspired. But
Yeah.
you
Well,
know, yeah.
first of all, I think it's so 2020 of you to be able to walk around and edit on your phone. I
Yeah.
remember, gosh, like that's to me is so future, and it's such a contemporary thing for video creators to be able to do that. And we're so fortunate these days to have that access to our footage and projects on our phone, because that's so true. If you really wanted to, you can go out to the beach and then use Adobe Rush. You can use iMovie, whatever it is. Like, what is stopping you from, even if it's just cutting video, an interview, you can go to the beach and you can do it on your phone. And I'm sure, I haven't tried it yet, that you can connect Adobe Rush with Adobe Premiere through Adobe projects, and you don't have to worry about if the timeline will be different in Adobe Premiere. Wow, that to me, it's such a gift from the gods of Adobe to, and also whoever else has these mobile apps that can also transfer over to desktop apps, because 10 years ago that couldn't even happen. 20 years ago you needed a whole machine, an Avid machine. And I think we're so fortunate now as filmmakers and video creators. And second, I want to talk about your dancing, because I'm a dancer as well.
Oh,
And so
cool.
I think that's really cool that you use dance as a way to spark that creativity, and also a way for you to step away from filmmaking and video production, so that you can rewire your brain, so that when you do go back to the filming and the video production, you're you're refreshed, you're ready for like a new blank slate. And so when you are dancing and everything, like, how has that influenced your filmmaking and your video production, like your history and your passion as a dancer?
Yeah, no, it's completely fueled it. It's so interesting. I was gonna even make a dance video. But the reason is because me getting into a dance, especially I've started experimenting with fusion dance, which is like totally free form dancing. But there's this sense of like you completely tapping into like your authentic expression, and you just delete the outside world and you're completely in your body, you're completely in the present moment. That's where the creativity is. That's where the insights come when you're present, you know, when you're connected. And dancing helps tune me into that, especially this fusion dancing, right? Like you're feeling, you're in the zone, you don't have stray thoughts, you're focused, you're here, you're present. And that's when I can feel what creativity wants to move through me, like dance wise. But I'm relating that even to my editing and filmmaking. When I am tapped into my present moment, um, and I don't have all these stray thoughts and distractions, but I'm connected, that's when I can clearly edit something. I can clearly get it done. That's when creative insights come. So it's so funny because that's why I play the music, is to remind me to get into that space where there is no outside world. There is just Claire. There is just Claire and her creative expression. That's when it comes through purely, you know, because if I have outside thoughts, if I'm thinking about who's thinking about me and what does this person think, or what about doing this tomorrow, and what about, you know, this to-do list, you can't get creative. But so dancing has been a practice of shutting out the outside world, focusing in the present moment, connecting to my sense of being, which I've also done through a lot of meditation practice.
Hmm.
Dancing is like meditation and movement for me. And so it's tapped me into that creative flow. And then it's translated completely into my filmmaking, actually all of my life, but definitely filmmaking. Yeah.
That's really great to hear, because I every morning I work out. I get up at 5 and I work out and meditate. That's
Yes.
my daily habit, and I think that meditation to me is the best way to really tap into your internal creative self, and also think of things that you would want to create in the future by letting go of your surroundings and also focusing honestly in the present moment, just like you said. And
Yeah.
I find that when I film, when I camera op or I DP, like, you know this because you also shoot, sometimes you get stuck in the moment and you'll be looking at that LCD screen and you don't even know if there's a pole behind you and you're going to hit it, or you're going to trip over something. Or there's even some times when I'll be filming and I am sweating. Everyone else is cold, but for me, you'll probably see it this Sunday when you're part of my shoot. When I film, when I camera op, and even when I direct, I start sweating, and I think it's because I produce so much creative energy that it becomes this physical manifestation through sweat, and you'll see it. I think I have to wear like a dry fit Nike polo shirt or something because it's like an athletic sport to me. Like creativity is athletic to me. And I think that's why it's important to be physically fit as well when you are creative, because you're able to get the blood flowing to your brain. You have much more of a fluid, stronger, flexible, functional body when you have to stand up 12 hours a day to make sure a set doesn't fall apart. And so it's really cool that you do that plus meditation and you go on walks. You know, that's it's amazing you spend time in nature. Um, Claire, this has been such a great conversation just because I feel like you are a creative like myself that's just trying to be artistic while running a business. And I know that deep down in your heart, it's from a really great place where you just want to help people. You want to tell great stories, and you feel that video is the best way to do that. And so, you know, before we go, I want you to actually give advice for a lot of those video creators and filmmakers out there who do want to start a business, and what do they need to do in order to not fall into any bad situations and just have a successful year.
Okay, well, I would start just with intrinsically, one thing that I've learned is you always have to believe in yourself and not give up and stay
Mhm.
persistent. So I would just say first start with mindset. My number one advice, just mindset. Because I'm even retraining myself to consistently, believe in yourself, to consistently like be persistent and know that you can do it and take the steps and realize that every single little thing that you're doing is adding up to building your business and that you can do it. So that's like, first of all, just keep in mind, because that'll get you through everything, right? When stuff goes wrong and you mess up and you make mistakes and you lose things, if you can keep that mindset of I can do this, this is all serving me, this is all part of the lesson, this is all part of the growth, and you find a way to even like turn it into something that you can learn from and build off of, that's going to get you through so much of filmmaking and building a business. I would say it's like the number one advice,
Mm,
that mindset of learning and being persistent and never giving up and believing in yourself. And
that's
then from
true.
there, the rest is just is it gets much easier. Like, the clients will come, the work will come. Just stay persistent, just stay focused, and just focus on, okay, what is my next most beneficial step in building this business? And I would say build relationships and keep that mindset. Yeah, that sounds like my advice.
That's lovely. That's actually what a lot of uh, self-development coaches and a lot of
Yeah,
people out there who talk about business, a lot of great business people always talk about mindset. I mean, it comes down to Napoleon Hill and Brian Tracy, Zig Ziglar, and a lot of these great business entrepreneurs and influencers and speakers. They always talk about mindset because you can know all the tactics in the world. You can take all the Facebook courses, you can take all the YouTube courses, you can go to film school, you can get an MBA. But if your inner mindset is, I am not good enough, or I don't deserve the success, or your mindset behind hard work is, I stopped working at 5, whatever it is, having a positive mental attitude and also having certain belief systems that
yeah,
really help you pursue your goals and your business through the obstacles and the problems and the issues, it's the best way to actually teach someone how to run a business and have a creative career that's successful. Because honestly, again, so many people get college educations in the world. So many people get education in general, but it's the people who actually have the confidence and the belief systems to take that education and apply it that actually become successful. And it is all through mindset. And so, Claire, thank you so much.
Thank you.
This was fantastic. I feel so creative. I want to go outside and do some cartwheels, some pirouettes, and some handstands. Yeah, but before we go, I would love for you to actually tell everyone, where can we find you online and how can we support?
Oh, that's great. Yeah. So I'm still developing my website and my IG. So I would say you can go to sanzemedia.com. That's SANDE media.com. That's for one thing. And then, you know, to support, I would love to, if, you know, there's any businesses out there, especially just, it's all about building those relationships. So reach out, we should have a conversation. If you want to hear more about me and my process and just even connect as a filmmaker, like reach out to me. There's a contact on my website. That's one way. And then anyone else who would like to, yeah, I would say that would be a good start. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, Claire, thank you so much. Hopefully you have a really great set of projects coming up soon, because you deserve it. And I think everyone that's going to be working with you, especially the companies, are lucky to have you. So thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Creative Haven podcast. And if you dig it and like what you heard today, please give us a nice review and rating and share it with one of your friends that you think needs some creative inspiration. You can always find more content and resources at thecreativehaven.com and hit me up on Instagram at Mitchel Dumlao. And if you want to reach out, collab, or ask any questions, you have my permission to slide into my DMs. So keep positive, continue to learn and hone your craft, and create all day. Salamat.